The lights were almost too bright, spilling across the stage as if trying to outshine the moment. Cameras flashed from every angle, catching Queen Latifah in her element, standing tall at the center of the live award ceremony. Her smile was steady, polished, the kind that had been perfected over years in the public eye. In the front row, a well-known political figure sat with a look that carried both pride and possession, the kind of smugness that comes from years of getting away with subtle, cutting remarks that everyone remembered but no one ever confronted. He watched the stage like it was his show. Then, from the far side, Ibrahim Traoré stepped forward. His clothes were plain, his walk unhurried, but the weight he carried could be felt even before he spoke. The room shifted as he joined her on stage 4, a special presentation, his presence alone demanding attention. The crowd expected the usual brief words. A handshake, maybe a shared laugh for the cameras, but there was something different in the way Ibrahim's eyes fixed on her. The air seemed to tighten. He stepped closer, leaning in just enough that only she could hear, and whispered. Her smile faltered, just a fraction at first, then vanished. Her eyes glistened under the stage lights, the shine now different, softer, heavier. The hall fell into a strange silence, broken only by the mechanical clicks of cameras trying to catch the shift no one could yet explain. Whatever he had said wasn't long, wasn't loud, but it landed with the kind of weight that pulls up memories. From the deepest corners, she blinked, holding herself still, as if moving would shatter something fragile inside her. It wasn't what he said that shook her. It was what it made her remember. Years before the bright lights and standing ovations, Queen Latifah's rise was paved with moments the world never saw. She had faced the kind of racism that didn't shout it, smiled, nodded, and shut the door quietly when no one was watching. Early in her career, she walked into auditions knowing she would be judged twice before she even spoke, once for her talent, and once for her skin. Some roles were suddenly unavailable after she read for them. A young black actress she mentored was replaced overnight without explanation, her face gone from the posters as if she had never been part of the project. A promising writer's script, rich with cultural depth, was stripped of its voice to fit the market. On sets, crew members made jokes they thought were harmless, but each word left its own mark. Through it all, she learned to smile in interviews, to keep her answers light, to never give the system a reason to call her difficult. The man now sitting in the front row, the one whose face carried that smug calm, had been a shadow in many of those rooms back then, a decision-maker in circles that quietly built walls she had to climb. She remembered him approving changes that stripped her work of its roots, remembered the moments his influence closed doors before she even touched the handle. Years later, Ibrahim Traoré, though far from her world, had spoken out about her resilience in a speech that gained little notice, drowned out by the same industry voices that had once silenced her. And now, here they were. The cameras zoomed in as a reporter whispered to his colleague, "Why is she crying?" He barely spoke. In her mind, another whisper from years ago echoed, a friend backstage telling her, "Don't make waves. Just keep your head down." Ibrahim's quiet words on that stage had done the opposite. They lifted the waves, connected every hidden wound to this single, public moment, and for the first time, she felt the truth wasn't just hers to carry. The cameras stayed fixed on the stage, their red lights blinking like unblinking eyes, capturing every second. Ibrahim stepped toward the microphone. The sound of his shoes against the polished floor sharpened the quiet. He didn't speak right away. Instead, he stood still, letting the silence stretch until it became heavy enough for the audience to shift in their seats. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, steady, and low, yet every word carried. Some wounds are so deep, they become part of the smile we show the world. He didn't turn his head much, but his eyes flicked toward the front row where the antagonist sat, and the meaning hit harder than if he had called the man's name. The man shifted, trying to keep his face composed, but his eyes darted toward the cameras, then back to the stage, a faint shine of sweat forming under the bright lights. Ibrahim began a short story about a young girl with a gift for acting, who was told she was too much for a role. About a man in power who once said, "Culture sells, but not your culture." His words were precise, each one cutting cleanly, without raising his tone. The antagonist's hands clasped tighter, his jaw locking, the small, involuntary movements of someone feeling the walls close in. Then Queen Latifah stepped forward. Her voice trembled at first, but the strength underneath it rose as she spoke. "And yet, here I stand." The room froze for a heartbeat, the weight of those words landing like a final blow. Then, almost all at once, the audience rose to their feet. The clapping was loud, but it wasn't just applause, it was release. It was years of unspoken truth. Given a voice, the moment was no longer about an award show. It was about something far bigger. The event had not yet ended, but the man in the front row was already on his feet, moving toward the side exit with quick, measured steps. Cameras tried to follow him, but he kept his head down, slipping past reporters who called his name. Outside, the night was loud with chatter. Yet online it was louder. Clips of the moment spread within minutes. People replaying the whisper, the look on his face, the single line from Queen Latifah that seemed to pierce the air. In the weeks that followed, old interviews and offhand remarks he thought were forgotten came back into view. Network stopped calling. Projects were quietly reassigned. At night, he sat alone in a dim room, scrolling through endless streams of comments, each one more biting than the last. Messages from former colleagues went unanswered, not because he ignored them, but because they stopped coming. Once, he passed a neighbor on the sidewalk and gave a polite nod. They walked past as if they hadn't seen him. Across the city, Queen Latifah sat in her living room with the lights low, replaying the video not to relive the applause, but because it was the first time someone had spoken out loud what she had held inside for so long. Her phone rang, Ibrahim's voice on the other end, warm and steady. "The world changes in small whispers, not in shouts," he said, and she knew he was right. The night outside was calm. The cheers of that day replaced by the soft hum of the city through her window. She smiled to herself, not out of triumph, but because she understood something simple and unshakable: dignity had outlasted arrogance, and the echo of that moment would never fade.